Hi, welcome to Profiles. It's actually with a great honour I have a gentleman called David McCarthy with me today, who's Executive Officer of People Living with HIV and AIDS, Victoria, PLWHA. He's actually an activist, he's been around for a long time, causes lots of problems. Welcome.
Welcome.
What is this organisation, PLWHA?
People Living with HIV AIDS Victoria, okay. It's an advocacy and support organisation. We don't provide services. Simply individual advocacy, advocacy for particular issues, whether it be something like the disability support pension, the changes to PBS, health issues, health access, housing, pretty much everything that positive people experience in their life, but in areas where they may experience discrimination.
So basically you're a bunch of angry people with AIDS, is that what you're trying to say?
It's close, yeah, we're angry. Yeah.
Well, okay, you're HIV positive, your membership's HIV positive,
yep,
and you've got certain issues, you're angry, so you're the activist group of Melbourne, Victoria?
I'd say so, yeah. But interestingly, we sit on a number of government committees as well, state and federal, so our activism is recognised. We can be loud, as I think Senator Patterson found out a week or so ago, but we can also, meet people on their own ground and negotiate with them.
Yeah, I know politically, you speak with both Liberals and Labor. I mean, whether it be John Thwaites or Leonie Burke as an example in the inner parts of Melbourne, you'll do anything to get your way, as you have with Susan Davies. Have you any politics, your organisation, or just...
No, the organisation doesn't. What guides us solely is the quality of life for positive people.
Right. Haven't they got a good enough life?
No, they don't.
Well, what else?
Okay, we get discriminated against in housing, we get discriminated against in employment, insurance, sometimes in health services. You can't, for example, enter the United States if you're HIV positive, if you disclose that. So virtually everywhere in a positive person's life there is an area of discrimination. And our role is to try and address that and get it changed.
Okay, so you're an active. Now, before that, you've sat on all kinds of organisations, such as Also, which has been going through a bit of change of late.
It has.
And before that, you used to give lots of money to the. You bought your way into the gay.
I did.
Didn't
yeah.
You? You're Optus.
It was actually it cost. Well, it didn't cost me. It cost Optus a lot of money. Yeah. Well, 4 years of midsummer sponsorship, probably $1 million they probably spent.
And you don't sponsor. Well, you're not Optus anymore, but Optus doesn't sponsor midsummer anymore.
No, they don't actually sponsor anything in the gay community.
Why?
I think they went off the idea, basically. It was myself and another guy, Peter Burr, who's actually now at Telstra. And Telstra's a midsummer sponsor now, which is a strange coincidence. We used to run it, and the problem was it was part of our jobs, but we weren't actually officially supposed to be doing it. So when we left the organisation, Peter left first and then I left sometime after, the sponsorship ceased.
So sponsorship was purely driven by the individual a gay person in the organisation?
Pretty much, yeah.
So does that give me the impression that big businesses realise that the pink dollar doesn't exist?
Well, there's an interesting point on that. I know it does. The thing that works for a business that sponsors the gay community...
You bang that table again, you will never be on television again.
Okay.
Keep going. Live to where?
Is basically that if they sponsor it, they have to stick in. They have to stick there. And Optus, after 3 years or so, started to see some good results. And they measured that by the number of connections, by geographic location.
Right.
And the ones, depending what source they'd come from, whether it was from a dealer, whether it was from Midsummer, whether it was from a particular promotion. So it did actually start to pay dividends for them, but too many companies don't stick at it. So they try it for a year or 18 months and they think, well, where are all these puffs and dykes coming in the door?
Yeah.
You've actually got to do it for a number of years.
Well, the other issue, how do they recognise this?
Well, they can't. The only way you can do it is when you sell stuff through channels, particular channels, that you advertise in that market. That's how you measure your penetration of the market.
Right.
I mean, you can do market surveys. For example, that probably 3 years ago, virtually every community group in Melbourne had Optus mobiles, whereas now a lot of them are Telstra.
So we've just swapped over to go with whoever was the best deal.
Yeah.
So are we short-term thinkers as well?
No. We're just the same as everyone else. I mean, if the product is good and the price is right, and they support the gay community, then they should get your business. Now, obviously, a company that doesn't support the community, no matter how good their product, I won't support them.
Now, you went from gay, let's say, the straight world, capitalism, through to gay community.
Yep.
Why? And what's the difference?
Resources. In business, there isn't a shortage of resource to achieve what you want. In the community sector, there is. Whether it's people, whether it's funding, whether it's venues, there's always a lack of the infrastructure that you need. I decided to work in the community because I wanted to, I suppose, contribute to that infrastructure, but try and give a bit more of a business focus to particular organisations.
And are people taking notice? Is PLWHA becoming more business orientated?
No, it just, the organisation, what we do doesn't change. What does change is the amount of sponsorship and support we attract. We get a significant amount of assistance with our forums from the drug companies, but we insist that they have no input to the subject, to the content, to the production, etc. They give us the money, we use that to help us put the event on.
But wouldn't the drug companies, the major 3 or 4 or 5, I think there's 3, wouldn't they give you the money anyway because they've got themselves a captured market? Don't they want you all to recommend, hey, I'm on this cocktail, I'll take this drug?
Yeah, it's really, there isn't a lot of choice in HIV drugs. If you're on a particular cocktail of drugs, often one manufacturer is the only manufacturer that makes that product.
Yeah.
So it's for them to influence. It's not like, do you buy heroin or do you buy Panadol? If you need a particular drug, you don't have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
So, and the market in Australia for HIV drugs is quite small.
Right. A car just went past which reminded me of you. You're a petrol head. Now, you're not really a good fag boy, are you? You
I am a good fag boy.
Shut up, you're not really. You're supposed to be a little ballerina. You write a column for MCV, one of our sponsors, of course, along with B News, which also sponsors your opposition.
And Sports Car and Racer.
And you race with pigs, don't you, Cops?
I do.
Now, what's this petrol head stuff about?
I was, my father was an engine reconditioner.
Oh, Warrigal.
In Warrigal. He had his own song. I should have brought it in. It was a singing commercial.
What was it?
No, I can't sing it. It's too embarrassing.
It worked, didn't it? Yeah.
It worked, yeah. They used to play it at the drive-in, so you'd go into the bogs at the drive-in and you'd hear your father singing, and my mother used to play the banjo.
That used to put you right off having sex in the drive-in.
Yeah, well, you got used to it. That's where I got me interested in cars, and I just found that with me it's a passion, and being able to write about them just makes it all that much better. But it is a gay thing. I mean, there are lots and lots of guys out there that are into cars and are into bikes, the same as dykes are as well. I mean, it's not something that's exclusive to boring nut scratching, farting straight men.
Yeah, but I mean, do you use it as a sexual tool, or cruising up in your latest car this week that you've been given to drive or assess and go, hey, little boy, get in my car? Not that there's any little boys. I just thought about this.
No. Well, no, I've got a partner, so I don't need to cruise for sex. And I'm monogamous.
And you're monogamous. The whole thing about cars, are the car wholesalers, retailers, manufacturers getting more into fags and dykes?
They are. Interestingly, Byron, who writes for B News, he and I were on a car launch recently, and there was about 25 other car writers, and it was an overnight thing, so it was fabulous up in the country. And we were the only 2 gay guys there, and increasingly you can see that the manufacturers, you hear comments, I used to hear it, I'd ask for a car and there wouldn't be one available, and I'd just say, well, you're not withholding a car because you're homophobic, are you? So of course, they'd have to respond, well, no, they're not. But they're targeting the gay market, but they don't know how to market to it.
Well, how do you market to fags and dykes?
Well...
Sorry, and intersex, transgender, and
I think
the spectrum.
If I can... Ford, as you know, is a sponsor of Midsummer, and what they do is, for PRWHA, for example, I shouldn't have talked about them, they sponsor a couple of car rallies we did as fundraisers. That's one way. It's about getting the image there. I mean, a company can talk about its employment policies, it can talk about, its charitable works, but at the end of the day, it's about the product, but it has to be good for the community. If it's not good for the community, it's not going to work for them.
And so is it good that they do a couple of car rallies and someone may give a car to Style Aid, for instance, the Aid Council Style Aid?
I think they will.
But how is that good for us necessarily? We make money?
Well, yeah, we can use it. We can use it to raise funds. It's also good in changing perceptions. A lot of industry out there is very homophobic. Okay, and when you bring HIV/AIDS into it, you're introducing a further degree of complexity they just can't get their mind around. So involving them in...
Do they take the cars back after you've driven them you lot?
Yeah, they're sold as executive driven.
Executive HIV-driven cars.
HIV
that car's got AIDS, it's worth more money, I love it. Just note that one in the future.
Where were we?
We're talking about marketing to
it's good for them because they get exposure to the community, and it's interesting to watch how perceptions within those companies change when they're actually marketing to the gay community. The language has to change. Often their superannuation rules have to change because Midsummer, for example, won't accept sponsorship from a company that's not gay and lesbian friendly.
Yeah.
So it has that impact too. So that's often not thought about, but it's actually quite important and it makes a big difference.
And how many companies have offered money, have been refused money by organisations you've been on the board of, like Also or PLWHA, to whom you work for or whatever?
I'm not aware of any sponsorship being refused. It's a way about, they wouldn't be approaching you unless they thought it was a fit for them. And often there's someone gay on their staff, so they'll ask them. They'll say, what's so-and-so like?
Yeah, but if you get all these companies think that we've got this amazing disposable income, and do we have this disposable income? I mean, as a car writer, as a person that gets free cars, so MCV can sell space and ads and pay you. I assume you're on the payroll. Oh, hopefully you are. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I could just substantiate that one right now while we're here. But they all think we've got this disposable income.
Well, the gay community, some sections do have a high disposable income. A large percentage of the gay community doesn't. A large percentage of the HIV community is on a pension.
Yeah.
But that's a microcosm of the rest of Australia. It's not... The potential for gays and lesbians to have higher incomes or higher disposable incomes is there because generally, both people in a relationship, whatever, are working. We do like to acquire property and assets, just the same as everyone else. So,
okay. This is David McCarthy. We're coming back, and to prove that we're not all rich gay men, we're back to about theories, gay theories, profiles. Back in a minute. Hi, this is Profiles. Welcome back. We're actually in David's backyard. David McCarthy, who's the Executive Officer of PLWHA. He's rich, unlike ourselves, as I pointed out before. We don't have money, so please support Bent TV. Not only do we know he's rich by coming from Warrigal, and his father was, head of the motor industry of Warrigal, and they lived in Warrigal North, which was on the hill, unlike us poor peasants down below. But you went to a private school. You were a hedge burner.
I did. I went to Trinity Grammar. I was a boarder.
So that's why you're a homosexual.
Well, no, I had to jump the fence to Xavier to get any. I couldn't get any at Trinity.
Oh, really? The Xavier boys, well, we always know about them. They always were. No. But then after that, you became a repo man. You're a thug.
A thug. I actually worked 10 or 15 years of my working life in credit. And my most recent job there was managing a mercantile agency, which was repossessions.
So what happened when you took someone's car away? What did you say to them?
Catch the tram.
You're a bastard. You really are. That's David McCarthy, and he's an activist running PLWHA. I wouldn't want to take him on, let alone that poor federal health minister. Kay who?
Not Happy Kay.
Not Happy Kay Patterson.
Not Happy Kay.
Who voted for him? My parents did. Did yours?
I saw someone the other day who said they did. Which I think Dave Truman might have.
Dave Truman, yeah. He's probably liberal. Now, we're not going to get into that because he's a member of Bent TV.
Okay.
He's an ex-cop too, so
yes,
I
you'll
doubt
be able to check up on us.
Check and do us over and beat us up.
Not that they haven't already.
Yeah, they have, well and truly. Now, listen, activist costs. You made a statement once that by being an activist, it takes away a lot of your life or something.
It does. The problem is people want you to take up issues for them that may not always be issues that you agree with, but everywhere you go, people want to talk to you about something. Similar like being on the Also board, it would always be about, the party, they didn't like the lighting, or they loved the music, or the sex space was too small, or, the toilets were blocked. you have to put up with a lot of crap. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't that because you just want to be loved? You want people to recognise you, or what?
No, I mean I've got a life like everyone else, and being active out in the community does have a price because people recognise you everywhere you go. It's a bit like being gay in a country town. You stand out.
Yeah, well, it's true. I'm considered to be a slut. I'm not. I want to talk about people who you respect in the community. I know you like John Thwaites because of his complete support for the queer community. Obviously, to get himself re-elected. Let's not be stupid about it. Any other reason you like Thwaites?
When he was Shadow Minister, and Deputy Leader of the Opposition, he introduced a private members bill, or tried to introduce a private members bill, which was the predecessor of the same-sex relationships bill which the Bracks government introduced. That was very courageous. Remember, the Labor Party, is a very broad church, but it has not always been as supportive of gay and lesbian rights as we would like.
Well, and any hint of Catholicism there, like our current leader of the Labor Party.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't he get influenced by the far right?
I don't know. I mean, what I can say is that I know that, don't touch that table again, is that their support for gay and lesbian equality is across all the factions. It's across the entire government. Now, whether an individual member of the government has a particular view, it hasn't been put to me.
Okay.
So I'd have to say that the discussions that I've had where Bracks has been there, I've never sensed that he had a problem with what was being proposed.
Okay, now you're also a great fan of Leonie Burks, member of PRF, because I see you and her getting on quite well together, obviously drinking far too much. Why? She's a Liberal, she's the enemy, isn't she?
Okay, Leonie, the Braille Library, the current PLC,
Positive Living Centre.
Positive Living Centre, yep. Leonie was responsible when the Liberals were in government in securing the funding for that building.
How? What did she do?
She lobbied.
Within her own
party, within the government. And remember, she was a backbencher at the time.
But she would have only done that to get re-elected. What was that guy that went up against her years ago from the Labor Party? Lost, isn't it?
Joseph O'Reilly.
Joseph O'Reilly. Now, that was only after the gay boy vote of Paran, wasn't it?
Well, it didn't work.
No, it didn't work for him. It was obvious, because I won't get into that because I'll probably get sued again.
It's practical outcomes. I mean, the reality of politics is that everyone wants a piece of the pie, everyone wants a bigger piece of the pie, and, getting money for HIV is very, very difficult. Getting money for anything in the gay and lesbian community, as you know, from government is very, very difficult. So anyone that helps us do that and gives us access and gives us some measure of equality, I think, is doing the right thing. Now, if they do it for votes, fine, but we still benefit.
Okay, Susan Davies, independent from Inverloch, Wonthaggi. Bass, what do they call it down there? You're a fan of hers. Because she crossed the floor? No, she didn't have to cross the floor, she was an independent.
See, what happened is the government had the numbers to get the bill tabled.
Now, this is the relationships bill?
This is the relationships bill. And in the lower house, the Liberal Party were not necessarily going to support it. Now, with Susan Davies' vote, that was enough to have that passed in the lower house. So that actually put the pressure on the Liberals, because then it would mean that it passed in the lower house, it would then go to the upper house where they could knock it back in their own right.
Yeah.
So Susan was very important in I suppose, allowing that legislation to progress from a couple of years of discussion and fiddling around with it to the point where it was a bill and it potentially could become law. So that's why it was important, and she didn't hesitate to support it. And I think the other two independents, it's fair to say, weren't in favour of it at all. Russell Savage and Craig Ingram.
Nice yobby boys from the country, one from Mildura and one from where else?
Orbost.
An
abalone diver, I think.
Right. Okay, you got those two boys. But, I mean, I could use something really offensive too and go, Susan and Leonie Burke and Susan Doe, are they just kind of like fag hags?
No.
They're not threatened by gay men?
No.
Or they honestly believe and have real, acceptance views?
Yeah, look, I think they do. Susan's a single mother. Leonie's a mother. I don't know what her husband does, but they work and they live in a community the same as us. I think their support's pretty real. Does John Thwaites do it for votes? Does Rob Hulls do it for votes? Does Bob Brown do it for votes? I mean, a politician needs votes. A politician needs support.
Okay, so you've shown who you like, and that's every side of the political spectrum, as long as you get what you want. Who do you hate, David McCarthy? Who do you really hate with a passion?
I'm not a person that hates. I've been called a good hater. I think John Howard, for me, is a major disappointment. You know, his stance on refugees, his stance on immigration is bad enough. When you put into that his attitude to homosexuals, which is, tolerance, I think that's nonsense. I mean, how dare he? What gives him the right to tolerate me?
Yeah, but hang on, isn't he just reflecting the greater community and trying to get re-elected as well?
I don't think so.
But you think the greater community actually accept faggots, let alone HIV faggots?
No, but I don't think that the line that he takes, it's a bit like the Tampa stuff. It's catering to a significant minority in the community that want to give people a hard time because they're different, whether their skin colour's different, you know, whether they speak a different language or what they do with their bits. I mean, that's what it's about. And that's why, you know, my respect for him is pretty low, because he's playing a card that really, you know, he said for us it's a lifestyle choice. Well, you know, it's not.
Yeah, but you like your lifestyle.
I like my lifestyle, but, you know, it does, what I do with my dick has nothing to do with my value as a member of the community, and he treats me like a second-class citizen.
Right. Now, who else do you hate before I get on to something else I want to ask you?
I'm disappointed with Peter Costello.
Right.
As you know, he won't meet with the AIDS Council.
Yep.
He won't meet with PRWHA. He won't meet with ALSO. He won't meet with PFLAG. He won't with Minus 18. Now they're all based in his electorate. Okay, we have 200 members that live in his electorate. And I think, well, why won't he meet with us?
Well,
you know, he's supposed to be a small L Liberal.
Yeah, but he won't meet with because his electorate reflects, you know, this conservatism perceivably.
Well, it doesn't. It's virtually the same electorate as Leone has.
Yeah.
It's not that different. It's things like superannuation, for example. Gay men and lesbians are taxed differently when you get a superannuation benefit.
How?
It's taxed. Your partner is taxed as though they're a non-person.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if you leave your superannuation to Bill Smith in the street who you've met, it'll get taxed. If you leave it to your partner, same sex, it'll get taxed. If you leave it to your wife, it doesn't get taxed.
Yeah, exactly. Must get a wife. Now, we'll be thrown out of here any short, even though we love your garden.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Shut up. It's not Burke's backyard. You talk about, and you've spoken about, you don't think there's enough role models, heroes in the queer community. Yep. What do you mean? I like my local hairdresser and hairdresser.
Yeah. I think it's important for young gays and lesbians to see that you can be yourself, and part of that is being gay, and part of that is being lesbian, and you can succeed in whatever you do.
What would you say to the kids to give them some real opportunity? Give them some advice. Go out there and tell them what to do.
Okay, be yourself. Be proud of what you are, wherever you can, and it's not always possible. I accept that. Be out about what you are. But above all, be yourself and work hard at it. Being gay is not an impediment.
Okay. Now, being out, it's easy for you being out. You work in a queer community. You didn't previously.
No.
What's the issue about being out?
It changes perceptions. You feel better about it yourself. You're not leading this double life. You're not living a lie. And you change people's perceptions by the simple fact that, David McCarthy, Repo Man, he's a poofter. Yeah. Like, that's an industry that's not known for its tolerance. You have to, if you get the opportunity to do something like, not necessarily Repo Man, but changing people's perceptions. You can change your parents, you can change your friends, but the general community, they've got to be able to see that gays and lesbians are just as good at doing a job as they are. Right. And just as worthy of government support.
Okay, now when there's discrimination, I mean, you deal with discrimination with people living with HIV and AIDS, what should kids do? I mean, the unions aren't strong anymore.
Well, we have an enormous array of rights available to us in every area of our life. And, in Victoria, for example, with the same-sex relationships bill, we are treated in virtually, I think, 98% of cases the same as heterosexuals. So the rights that are available to everyone else are available to us. It's knowing your rights and not demanding them, expecting them. You don't have to demand them because legally you have to get them. But treat people you know, the right way yourself, and you'll get treated the right way back.
Okay, we're going to get out of here any second.
Cool.
But before we go, anything to say to a Liberal voter out there? Because you know I dislike Liberal voters, including my parents. I love you dearly. But what would you say to a Liberal voter? How can you be gay and voting Liberal?
It's always been a little bit of a quandary for me, but I would say to them, get active in your party and, you know, get them to accept gays and lesbians as equal members of the community.
David McCarthy, Profiles, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, love.
Bye now.